Fallout 4 is a big game. Special stats, perks, crafting, creation club content, settlements that need your help, and more to celebrate the anniversary edition and the upcoming Switch 2 release. This Ultimate Beginner's Guide will cover how to create the best character, how to have the best start, and a collection of my previous guides and tips for your viewing pleasure. Let's go! Now, we'll go deep into the special stats next, but we'll quickly cover the best starting stats, then what you should do first to get yourself off on the right foot. So unique to Fallout 4 and 76 is the ability to use your perk points to increase your special stats when you level up. This means that the game purposely gives you a lower amount of those like starting special stats, but based on the options we're going to pick here, you'll still be able to get basically all of the major perks that you want at the very start of the game, and then there's still a little bit of flexibility here in case you, say, wanted to spend a couple of points in a certain stat, just depending on like what role play or build you're looking for. So starting with strength, now this is the measure of your raw physical power. It affects how much you can carry and the damage of all melee attacks. You want to start with 3 here. This gives you a little bit of carry weight because you'll want to be picking up all sorts of things, but it also gives you access to the armorer perk, so you can do some crafting and craft some armor at all of the crafting stations. Perception, I would recommend to start this on 4. Perception is a measurement of your environmental and situational awareness. It directly affects your weapon accuracy in VATS. But the main reason we're starting it here at 4 is because you get the lockpick perk at 4 perception. So you will want that as early as possible so you can, lockpick things, right? Starting with your endurance at 4 gives you a decent amount of health and action points to start with, but it also gives you access to the toughness and the life giver perks. The toughness perk will just increase your overall damage resistance, and life giver is for your health. These are great for the higher difficulties, or if you're struggling to stay alive, you will want to put some points into these perks early. Charisma is an interesting one. Now, charisma is highly valuable in the game just overall in general because of dialogue checks that are directly tied to your charisma stat. A couple of perks can affect this as well, but it's mostly just tied to how much charisma you actually have. Now, this is one that, depending on your build, you can lower or increase. As in the early game, there's not really any that is desperate that you need to grab in terms of the perk line. It just depends whether you want to pass those dialogue checks. So I do recommend to get it to the 5 to 6 range for that reason in the early game. But ultimately, when you're starting out, these are the points that you can spend elsewhere if you do prefer to, say, level yourself in a different way. Intelligence is one that you will want to start at about 7 or as much as you like. Now, mainly because intelligence is a measure of your overall mental acuity. It affects the number of experience points earned and reduces the number of dud words when hacking terminals. The reason you want to start this at 7 is because of that experience points earned, so you'll level up faster. But this also gives you access to gun nut at 3, so you can modify your weapons. Hacker at 4, so you can hack those terminals. And then generally the main thing here is just that extra XP, which is always fantastic. Agility is a stat you don't really need in the early game. Starting out with 2 agility here gives you access to gunslinger and commando, which are both solid damage perks if you're, say, running a pistol or an automatic rifle, but I wouldn't be spending your points in those perks too early, as the main damage perk you want to get in the early game is actually from the luck tree, which you should start at 3. This is a measure of your general good fortune and affects the recharge rate of critical hits. That's all well and good, but what you really want luck 3 for is because of the 3 starting perks here, being Fortune Finder, which is the first one, which gives you caps from containers, which, there's no reason not to have additional caps, right? Because you'll spend all of that in the vendors. And Scrounger, which is the exact same thing, but for ammo, because you will always need ammo in this game and you'll always be trying to get more. And Bloody Mess, which is a straight damage increase by 5%, and then increases from there depending on how many points you actually put into it. But in the early game, when you're not exactly sure what sort of build you're running, just having a flat increase to overall damage by a Bloody Mess is better than, say, spending those points into the gunslinger or the commando line if you're not sure you're actually going to use those weapons. Now, from this point onwards, every new game in Fallout 4, there is really 4 things that you should do first as soon as you leave the vault. First is actually in Sanctuary when you arrive here, is to go back into your old house and into your son's bedroom, and there is a special book on the ground. By clicking on this book, this will give you 1 extra special stat in whichever stat you want to put it in, and you can really choose based on your own personal preference here. Next, still in Sanctuary, if you're looking at your house, head to the right and follow that all the way down to the end of the street. Behind that building, there is a root cellar. Inside this root cellar, there is a bunch of food, water, and gold bars, which sell for a ton of caps, but also there's a lot of good scrap here as well that you can pick up and take with you just to get yourself a bit of a head start in materials and caps. Next, you will want to head to the robotics disposal ground. This is to the northeast-ish of Sanctuary. The reason you want to go here is, 1, when you're at this ground, there is a military crate, which inside that military crate, you'll find a fusion core, for, which is fantastic because if you just head a little bit more east by following this path and looking on the map here, you will find your first set of power armor, and you can just have almost a full set of power armor right out of the gate, and you've already got a fusion core to run it. Now from here, while there is plenty of other things that you can do in and around Sanctuary, there's always a lot of good stuff around Sanctuary, so exploring is definitely worthwhile. But when you do head to Red Rocket to grab dog meat, which is probably what you should do next, don't forget to go into the secret tunnel where the mole rats are just behind Red Rocket, as in here there is some good loot, but there's also another fusion core, so if you need to power that power armor, you've got another core to go. And then from here, you're free to really do whatever. I personally, often after doing this, will just go to Concord next, as that's typically just like where my progression takes me, but that's entirely up to you, as it's your game, you play it how you like. But let's cover all the best perks for leveling and generally some advanced tips next. We'll start with strength and we'll work our way through the special stats. Now, strength as a stat will improve how much you can carry as well as the damage of your melee attacks. The carry weight is what's actually important about the special stat strength, so that's really important for like any build. There is also a couple of perks in this line that any build should grab. The first comes at special stat 3 for armorer to allow you to craft armor mods, and you'll eventually want to max this out, right? Because the better armor mods you can create, the better resistances you can have on yourself, but also the additional effects you can get from certain armor, right? Like increasing your own carry weight or adding other types of resistances and the various effects you can get from the armorer perk. The main one though that you probably want to grab at least relatively early is strong back at strength level 6. Now this will increase your carry weight. You only really need rank 2 to get that extra plus 50. The other ranks are, important if you are an absolute pack mule, but you can usually then transfer weight onto like your companions, etc. anyway. But you really want to grab this just to increase your carry weight, because you will pick up a ton of junk throughout Fallout 4 and you will need to store it in your settlements, so being able to actually carry more is definitely important. Now if you are running like a heavy weapon or a power armor build, you will want to grab some of the perks in this line for those specific builds, say like heavy gunner or pain train. And then say if you're running a melee build like rooted and big league is definitely worth grabbing, and you'll probably want to invest more than say 6 strength there, but it's not necessarily important unless you're specifically going for those sort of builds, but I just thought I would mention it. The best perception perks. Now perception does affect your weapon accuracy in VATS, as well as how far you can see those little icons on your compass. Now that is a little bit different in survival mode, as it is reduced the amount of like how the distance you can see those icons on your compass. Awareness is probably the first one you want to grab here at level 3 perception. You can then view a target's specific damage resistances when viewing them in VATS. This is important, especially the further you get in the game, so you can actually see what enemies are resistant to. The main ones to point out really are just like whether they're resistant to like normal, physical damage or energy resistance. So make sure you're either switching between those damage types and just being able to see what those resistances are. Locksmith is absolute must. Now this comes at perception 4. You can grab locksmith. You need at least rank 3 here so you can pick master lock, so you can open literally any lock in the game. Getting rank 4 will then allow you to just use one bobby pin throughout the entire game. You don't need any more, but getting rank 3 relatively early is definitely important, because it sucks when you come across safes and chests and stuff that you can't actually open and you want to know what's inside them. Now if you do max out your perception, concentrated fire, so in VATS every attack on the same body part gains a percentage of accuracy. This is like a really good VATS perk if you're running a VATS build, but I wouldn't worry about it until later game, as being able to get 10 perception is quite an investment, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, but it is a fantastic perk that I did want to mention as well. Now obviously if you're using snipers, you're probably going to grab the sniper perk. Same if you're using rifles, you're going to grab the rifle perk for the additional bonuses that they gain, like being able to hold your breath for longer for sniper, or increasing your overall damage with non-automatic weapons for the rifleman perk. But only grab those perks if you're actually using those specific weapon types. The endurance special stat affects your total health and your AP drain when sprinting, and it's absolutely one of the most important special stats to absolutely increase, even if you're not investing too much in the perks, because of that total health and AP drain of sprinting. So there's a couple here. Now the first one is good for survival mode, and that is lead belly. Now initially you'll take less radiation from eating and drinking. If you max this out, you'll take no radiation from eating and drinking from any of the foods and like drinking stuff you find out in the world. This is amazing for survival mode, because you are going to be eating and drinking all the time in survival mode, and outside of that it's less valuable, but it's just worth pointing pointing out, in survival mode, absolutely critical perk to grab. Life Giver is a critical perk to grab in any mode. Now, this will instantly give you a certain amount of maximum health, which is sort of okay. It's not until you get rank 3 that it becomes really valuable, which is once you've maxed this out, you'll actually just get a passive amount of HP regen. This will save you in those quieter moments, like in between combat, so you don't have to use, say, eating food or like consuming stim packs just to heal yourself. You'll get that passive heal effect over time. In the late game as well, you can actually minimize your need to use stim packs and even Radaway by getting the Ghoulish and the solar powered perks at 9 and 10 in the endurance line. Ghoulish rank 4 will essentially turn rad damage to actually begin healing you and restoring the health in the process, and then solar powered, your sunlight will slowly regenerate your lost health, and you can actually combo this with endurance 6 night person for intelligence and perception during the night, as well as HP during the night as well. So essentially you'll get benefits whether it's day or night in that regard by grabbing those perks sort of in the very late game is something that you probably want to invest in. Charisma is a special stat that has some fantastic perks, but it's also just good to max out in general. Now, Charisma affects your success chance of persuading in dialogue as well as the prices when bartering. Both of these are really valuable, and they're sort of like passive bonuses just for increasing your charisma stat, which is valuable to do. Now, for perks here, grabbing Cap Collector is great. So buying and selling prices of vendors are now much better because you will do a fair amount of buying and selling during the game. And if you're going to, chase certain weapons from vendors or even just sell things for caps, really valuable to have an increase. At rank 6 charisma, you can get local leader. Now at rank 2 local leader, you can build stores and workstations at your settlements. Only valuable if you are invested in the settlement mode, as a lot of the settlements will already have, say, the workstations built that you can use, like if you're doing crafting, etc. Like Sanctuary is a great example of that, right? But essentially, if you're going to invest in the settlement mode, you will need local leader to create those supply lines as well as build certain workstations, which are valuable to have. The next two is dependent on what you are choosing to do, right? So if you run Dogmeat or no companion, at level 3, the Lone Wanderer perk is an absolute must. This will lower the amount of damage you take as well as increase your carry weight by a certain percentage. If you don't want to invest in the strength line, this is fantastic to have as an alternative to increase your carry weight. And if you are running Dogmeat, you want to grab Attack Dog at rank 4. So Dogmeat will hold enemies, giving you a greater chance to hit them in VAT. And then the higher levels of this will also cripple the enemies as well as cause bleeding. But whether you're running Dogmeat or no companion, both of these perks are absolute must if you are going that route. If you're going to actually use a companion, like, you come across a companion that you really like and you want to use them, at rank 6 charisma, inspiration is what you want to grab. So initially your companions will do more damage and they can't hurt you, and then at higher levels it will further increase their damage as well as their carry weight. But it's dependent on whether you're actually going to use a companion or if you're going to use Dogmeat or no companion, right? You probably want to make that choice so they're not wasting that perk investment in the early to mid game, because perks are sometimes hard to come by, right, as you're trying to level up. But otherwise for charisma, it is less about the overall perks, though there's plenty that are good. It's more about having a higher charisma because that'll help you with those persuasion checks if you're trying to be a good talker, as well as lower the cost of, buying items from vendors, that sort of a thing. Intelligence affects your total number of XP points gained, and this is hugely important if you want to level up fast. Now, there's also a bunch of amazing perks in the intelligence line, starting at rank 2 for the medic. This will increase the amount of lost health restored from stim packs, as well as the amount of radiation removed from Radaway. Higher levels will increase that percentage increase. Definitely good for literally any build. At 3, you can get Gun Nut. Now, this will allow you to craft the gun mods for all the different guns that you're going to run across. Now, this is obviously only valuable if you're actually going to use guns. Like if you're not going to use guns, you probably want to grab Blacksmith in the strength line for melee weapons, but you definitely want to grab this, or even the science in this line as well if you're using, say, plasma rifles and laser rifles, etc. At rank 4, Hacker is fantastic. Now, just like Locksmith, you're going to want to grab this, and you're going to at least get rank 3 so you can hack master terminals. Really valuable to grab. The Scrapper perk is one you probably haven't considered, but it's absolutely worth grabbing, as basically every enemy uses a weapon, right? And you're probably going to take that weapon. Now, if you scrap that weapon initially without this perk, you get basically nothing. But if you have this perk and you've maxed it out, you're going to get a ton of those uncommon components like screws, aluminum, and copper, and then even higher higher ranks will get you some of those rare materials, which are absolutely fantastic for any crafting, whether it be armor or weapon mods or power armor, etc., that you definitely want to grab. So Scrapper can be super valuable for that, to actually transfer all those weapon drops into something valuable. Chemist at rank 7 intelligence is just good as well. Now, any chems that you consume will last longer. Now, if you're going to use Chemist, you must combo this with endurance 4 to chem resistance to avoid addictions, right? Because addictions are bad, but if you combo these together, you can essentially have chems that will last like a really long time when you max out this perk, and then chem resistant will avoid you from being addicted to those chems. The benefit here, right, just if you're wondering, you can obviously use something like Psycho, etc., to increase your overall damage, but just using Mentats to increase your overall XP by increasing your intelligence stat is like not something to sneeze at, so definitely you can do that as well. Now, also, if you want to know like how to farm XP or the various like XP increasing methods, you can check out my tips video, as I do cover that in that video there. Agility affects your action points total in VATS, as well as your ability to sneak. Now, there are less perks in this line that are valuable. There are a lot of build dependent perks. Say, for example, if you're running a stealth build, you probably want to grab something like Sneak and Mr. Sandman, Ninja. And then if you're using automatic weapons, Commando is obviously great. Now, gun fuse damage is also really good, but it does require you to completely invest in the agility line. So I wouldn't be worried too much about that. But outside of that, there are 2 perks that I would recommend. The first being Action Boy at 5 in agility. So Action Boy increases your action points, regenerating them faster. So if you're using VATS a lot, really valuable. Also sprinting a lot, valuable because the regen of your AP will be faster. The main one though, if you're using any type of weapons, is at agility 8, which is quick hands. So you will reload all guns faster. Reloading takes forever in Fallout 4. It's like one of my main pet peeves of the game, is that like all guns take forever to reload. So this is one of the first perks I always grab on any gun build, is grabbing quick hands so you can reload faster. There is plenty of good stuff in the luck perks as well. Now, luck as a special stat affects the recharge rate of your critical hits in VATS, as well as your chance of finding better items. Now, there's plenty of perks here, and a lot of them don't require a ton of luck investment. So Fortune Finder at rank 1, you'll find more bottle caps in containers. This is a little amount of bottle caps, right? But if you think about the amount of containers that you open throughout the game, just finding 10 bottle caps in basically every container, that really starts to add up if you grab this perk very early on. And it's the same with Scrounger, which will allow you to find more ammunition in containers. Ammo is obviously great because you're going to go through tons of it if you are using guns, but you can also sell any of the ammo that you don't actually want to use for a ton of caps. And if you're using survival mode here, obviously avoid this perk because ammo has weight in survival mode, and you don't want to be picking up a bunch of ammo if you can't actually carry it, if you're going to consume some of that carry weight. At rank 3, the luck perk Bloody Mess is one of the best perks in the game. This will give you a flat damage bonus increase on any weapon and melee weapon, etc. that you're using. This is one of the best early game damage perks because it's not weapon specific, right? We've talked in this video about things like Commando for automatic weapons, Rifleman for, those rifles, Sniper, melee weapons, etc., right? Because Bloody Mess is just a flat damage increase across any of those weapons. It's really good for the early game when you're not really sure what weapons you're going to use and you haven't really got tons of ammo for one specific weapon type, so you're gonna be switching weapons a lot. You don't really know where you're gonna go. It just gives you that flat bonus damage increase, so you can't really go wrong there. And then the more levels you put into this, the more damage increase that is. And then once you've decided what build you're going to use, what weapons you're going to use, you can then pick those other perks we mentioned in this video. Idiot Savant at rank 5 luck is good as well. So you randomly receive 3 times XP for any action, but the lower your intelligence, the greater the chance. So if you're making a build that isn't using intelligence, you want to grab Idiot Savant as soon as possible and max this out, because it will alleviate the issues you get for not having intelligence, because the more intelligence you have, obviously the more XP you get. So having an Idiot Savant will help you level up a lot quicker, and especially the high levels of it when that percentage increase does get higher. Now, there are a bunch of critical hit perks in the luck line as well. If you're making sort of a VATS build focused on criticals, like Better Criticals and Critical Banker, Four Leaf Clover, as well as Mysterious Stranger. All of these are fantastic, but the thing is it's only really good if you're using VATS and focusing on that critical hit stuff, whereas these other perks that we mentioned, like Fortune Finder, Scrounger, Bloody Mess, etc., are just fantastic for any build. I want to focus on not necessarily the obvious stuff in this video, some more complex things and just some like fun things that you should probably know. So we'll start with one, which is that you can actually change the color of your flashlight. It's defined by your Pip-Boy text color in the display settings. So if you don't like the green glow that it gives off, you can actually change the color of your Pip-Boy text. It will also change the color of your flashlight. If you are aiming at a wall in first person, you can peek around it by aiming down sights. You can do this if you want to peek over something or to the left or to the right. It's a good way to keep yourself behind cover while still actually being able to shoot. When hacking terminals, you can reset your amount of tries as well as remove dud words by looking for these specific sections like the brackets and arrows that will highlight a specific section. By clicking that, it will remove dud words as well as reset your tries if you have used up a couple of your tries. It's good to do this if you have used a couple of tries, you're not really any close to looking for actually getting the right word, to go through, remove all the duds, find the one that will reset your tries, and then start again, and chances are you'll actually find the right word. You should be upgrading your weapons and your armor early and often. Most of your damage increases as well as your armor improvements and resistances will actually come from just upgrading your overall equipment. When you're modifying equipment, the mod that you remove from that item will actually be placed in your inventory. Now you can sell this for an extra couple of caps, but you can actually just transfer it to your, say, workbench if you're at a settlement and keep it in case you want to upgrade a different weapon and put that mod on that weapon. Conversely, the same thing if you find a weapon that has a mod on it that you want to actually use, you can take it off that weapon and keep it for later to put it on a weapon that you want. Now, all of this crafting stuff, as well as the settlement things, which we'll talk about a little bit later, all revolves around the junk that you find in the world. Now, if you're at a workbench, you can press T on PC, or I believe it's triangle on PlayStation, and I think it's X on Xbox to immediately transfer all of your junk into that container, and you should be doing this at all of your settlements so that you're not actually carrying all that heavy stuff. There is some important junk that you should always be looking for. It's really three things, but one of them is significantly more important. Ceramics, aluminum, and adhesive. Those are probably the most important and some of the hardest to come by, and I will actually tell you how you can make your own adhesive shortly. But you should always be picking up those as well as cigarettes and pre-war money because they're great for just trading as they don't weigh too much and they have a high value to sell. Now, on your junk screen on your Pip-Boy, if you press C on PC, you can actually view the raw components rather than that actual junk item. So you can see how much of those actual components you're carrying, and then you can see on the right-hand side what of that actual item that you've got in your inventory is actually contributing to that amount. And from this screen as well, you can actually tag specific types of components, say in this case, ceramic, aluminum, and adhesive, so that anytime you come across those items in the world, they'll have a little magnifying glass next to them, so you can make sure you always pick that up. You can do the same thing on workbenches. You can tag resources that you are actually looking for. So I mentioned that adhesive is really important, and nearly every weapon and armor mod, like basically everything uses it. So Wonder Glue and duct tape are the main ones you want to find out in the world, but you can actually grow your own adhesive by creating vegetable starch, which needs corn, tato, mutfruit, and purified water. Now, all of this stuff you can grow and gain yourself. Purified water can come from just having water purifiers at any of your settlements that are actually, generating purified water into the settlement. And then you can grow corn, potatoes, and mutfruits. If you go to Grey Garden, which is sort of to the southeast-ish of the sanctuary area, you can go here, and before you even got this as your own settlement, you can just go there and grab some corn, some potatoes, and some mutfruit, take that back to your settlement, and then you can grow those specific fruits. So then you've got an unlimited supply of them, and you can keep creating vegetable starch from any cooking station when you actually do need to. As in every Bethesda game, your companions can carry your burdens, but because you can command them, if their inventory is actually full, like you can't actually store any more things in them, if you put objects into, say, a container and then command them to go and take those objects, it'll actually bypass their full inventory and they'll still pick up those items. Some companions as well can actually pick locks or hack terminals for you. Kate, for example, can do lock picking, and Nick Valentine can hack things. So you can actually command them to hack things, say if you don't have the perks required to actually do that, or you can command them to disarm mines like in the same way in case you don't want to get close and blow yourself up. You will probably collect a ton of companions throughout your playthrough that you won't obviously be using all of them all at once. So if you do assign them to a settlement, make sure you assign them to a task, right? Like, for example, at the start of the game, you've got Codsworth that you'll get pretty early, and you can assign your settlers to do things as well as your companions. So, you may as well assign them to just do some, say, scavenging at a scavenging station, for example, right? To generate a bit more junk for you. Dogmeat is definitely the best companion, not only because you can dress him up into collars and bandanas and armor and goggles and all sorts of cool stuff, but if you put a teddy bear in his inventory, he'll then get that extra idle animation to actually play with the teddy bear just when you're not traveling around sometimes, which is pretty cool. Power armor is a fantastic way to survive out in the wasteland. Now, you will need fusion cores, just like in the TV show, funnily enough, and your fusion cores will actually like drain faster if you're using certain things. Say if you're sprinting, specifically sprinting uses a ton of charge for your fusion cores. Strong melee attacks and VATs also drain it as well. Now, if you are fast traveling, it doesn't actually use any of the fusion core batteries, so you can feel free to fast travel around rather than just sprinting. Now, you should be selling your fusion cores to traders before they actually run out, as their value is the same regardless of if the charge is at, say, 100 or 1. It's just once the battery is completely drained that it is significantly cheaper. So if you want to make an extra couple of caps, make sure you're selling them before the charge completely runs out. And don't leave your power armor at your camp or anywhere with the fusion core in it, as any of your settlers and companions might actually just jump in it and stay in it. So just be careful of that. XP and your skills and perk points are really important. Now, there is no level cap here. You'll consistently level up in Fallout 4, so you don't really have to worry about, say, missing out on any perk points or anything like that, but you will need to make decisions around which ones you get first. Now, the further away you get from essentially Sanctuary, the harder the game gets, so just keep that in mind while you are exploring. Now, while there is no level cap, you will need XP to actually level up, and the more XP gains you can actually get, then the faster you level up. The simplest way to increase your overall XP gain is via your intelligence special stat, as the more intelligence you have, the more XP you'll gain. Mentats will also increase your XP because they also increase your intelligence amount. So a good example here is like if you're about to, say, hand in a quest, if you pop some Mentats, it'll increase your intelligence, therefore increasing your experience gain, therefore you'll get more experience from, say, doing that quest or fighting enemies, whatever it is. Well Rested is a perk that increases your XP gain by 10%. You just need to sleep in a bed. Lover's Embrace is essentially exactly the same, but it will increase your gain by 15%, and in order to get that, you need to be sleeping while you have a romanced companion with you. Idiot Savant is a perk that will randomly increase your XP gain by 3 or more if you rank it up for any action. Now, the lower your intelligence, the higher the chance of this will occur. So if you're not going to have a high intelligence build, you definitely want to grab Idiot Savant as a way to alleviate some of your lower XP gain amounts. But if you have a higher intelligence, you probably don't need Idiot Savant. Squirrel Stew can also increase your XP gain by 2%, which is something you can craft at any cooking station with a couple of materials. Now, I'm probably going to do a video breaking down all the best skills in every category. Let me know if that's something you want in the comments. But here are some of the best skills for like any build. Scrounger perk is great if you want a ton of ammo, not only for yourself to actually use, but you can sell ammo for extra caps. Now, just keep in mind here for survival mode, Scrounger perk isn't as good because ammo does have weight while in survival. Fortune Finder is great for any as well because you get extra bottle caps in containers all the time. It's only a little bit, but like when you're looting things all the time, that little bit definitely adds up. The rank 3 Life Giver perk will give you passive HP regen when outside of combat, and you can actually max out your endurance stat and get the ghoulish and solar powered perks as well if you want more passive HP regen as well as rads removal. They're a great combo to sort of run together. Bloody Mess is the best damage perk early game, as it's just a flat percentage damage increase. If you haven't decided, say, what weapons you're going to use, or you like to switch your weapons around a lot, Bloody Mess just gives you a damage increase for all weapon types, so it's great to grab and level that up. The Lone Wanderer perk still provides bonuses while you have Dogmeat as your companion. So as long as you don't have a human companion, you've just got Dogmeat here, the Lone Wanderer perk, you'll still get the bonuses to taking less damage as well as increasing your carry weight. If you're using Dogmeat as well, make sure you grab the Attack Dog perk as well because it does give him benefits as well. Let's just do a couple of settlement tips here and things you need to know. So you don't necessarily need to invest heaps in settlements if you don't want to, right? Like the game does push you in that direction, but as long as you're hitting the minimum for, say, you know, any of the specific like markers at the top, you'll be completely fine to just ignore those settlements. One thing to point out is like the defense stat. Like as long as your defense is more than the food and water, then that settlement will be attacked less and it'll essentially like run on its own. It'll be completely fine. Walls don't actually do anything for defense, so you can like build them if you know, want for like cosmetic purposes, but they won't actually do anything in that way. Having water purifiers at your camps are fantastic because of the purified water that it will put into the storage, which you can grab to not only use yourself in crafting, etc., or survival mode, but also to sell for profit. Now you can expand your settlement build limit if you are reaching that build limit by dropping weapons and armor and stuff on the ground and then scrapping it or storing it in the workshop mode, and you can essentially just keep doing this over and over again. Because it assumes assumes that it's part of the build limit size, so you can actually just like cheat the system in that way and increase the amount of build limit that you can have on any of your settlements. When you're selecting something from the workshop mode as well, if you press and hold the button, you'll actually select anything that's connected to it. Now this is important because you can actually use this trick to like connect multiple things and like clip things a little bit into each other. Say if you can't get an object like in that perfect spot you want it, you can put like a rug on the ground, put the object on top of it, and then use that button to like hold the command button to pick up both together. And then by moving the rug, you can sort of like jimmy the rug in closer. And then once you've got that main object that's on the rug exactly where you want it, you can then just store the rug in your workshop mode. And then that object that it was on will actually stay where it was. In your settlement mode as well, you can click on settlers to assign them to different jobs. Now, I highly recommend building a bell at any of your settlements because you can then bring all of the settlers to one spot so you can find which ones aren't actually assigned to anything. But it's also good for companions, right? Like I am awful at remembering where I put my companions. So having a bell that you can then pull everyone in and you'd be like, oh, you know, Nick Valentine's at this settlement. Oh, cool. And you can actually like grab them if you need them for certain things. So now with the anniversary edition, all the existing Creation Club content is now included with the game. So here we'll go through how to unlock the next gen creation editions, which was the first editions that got included when the next gen update came out. And then we'll rank most of the Creation Club content, as there is a ton of content and not all of it is actually worthwhile doing. So at the end of this video, we'll just rank which ones are worth doing. And so you know exactly what you get from them and whether they're worth your time. So we'll start with the Enclave Remnants, and just generally speaking, when you boot up the game, all these new quests will just like pop. You'll just like get notifications of all of them. You'll know if you are on the right version of the new game because it'll tell you when you do boot up the game. But also there is a new menu called Installed Content when you pause the screen. So if you see that menu, you know you're on the right version of the game. You may need to like re-download on console like the right version, you know, for the next gen version. For PC, it just like updated my Fallout 4 client. So the Enclave Remnants comes from the Echo of the Past quest. Now, there is multiple quests that are linked to this, like because it's a collection of some of the older Creation Club content, you'll still have the old quests like the Pyro quest or Speak to the Devil, but you only need to do Echoes of the Past to get most of the new kit for the Enclave, except one exception. So this quest will automatically pop and it will start on the road north of the Sager's Iron Works. Now, essentially, you just need to go here and kill the Enclave dudes. There'll be a terminal, you'll read that, and then you'll need to follow the signal out in the Glowing Sea. The signal in the Glowing Sea will actually end at the Atlantic offices, so you can just sort of travel straight there or around that area if you want to know where it goes. You just need to go here, kill some dudes, and you'll be able to loot basically all of the Enclave equipment, as most of the enemies here will have all of that stuff. Except one exception, I couldn't find anyone that had the heavy incinerator here, so I actually went and did the Crucible quest, which is another one of the Creation Club kit ones, which is actually at the Salgus Ironworks. And essentially here, you'll just need to kill some Forged and then work through your way through this quest. It's pretty self-explanatory by reading the notes. One thing I will note here is that in order to pick up the incinerator from the fire, you need to have the fire-resistant legs that come when you pick up the grave. So actually make sure you use the crafting station for power armor that's like right there, and put these frame resistance left and right legs on that Raider power armor so you can step into the fire to actually pick up the incinerator. I didn't actually do that first time and it killed me, so just make sure you do that correctly. The makeshift weapon pack comes with a bunch of weapons, including the baseball launcher, the nail gun, the saw blade launcher, plus 2 different grenade launchers. And this quest is relatively easy, but you will have to fight a lot of enemies in order to do it. So When Pigs Can Fly is the name of the quest, and if you just follow the quest marker, it's basically all happens in like a downtown Boston area, so you'll essentially just need to follow the quest line. I won't spoil it, as I actually quite liked this quest line. Like there was some interesting, you know, back and forth between the notes and everything in there that I kind of enjoyed. So you can essentially go there. Now you'll be able to buy the first couple, like the nail gun, the saw blade, from Suggs when you interact with him right at the start, and then by going through the quest line, you'll actually get the rest of the weapons for the makeshift weapon pack. The Halloween workshop was a tricky one for me. So this quest is called All Hallows Eve, and you'll need to tune into the mysterious signal on your Pit-Boy. Now for me, on my main save that's got like 6 days worth of playtime, the mysterious signal never played. Like I clicked on it on the radio and like nothing happened, and I had to go and check on other save files like of other characters I had, and it did actually work. Now if you're in that same situation where it's like bugged, you can actually just go to the location. It's at the Harbour Master Hotel, which is located in sort of the Cambridge area of Boston. Essentially, you just need to go here, enter the building, and then as you enter the building to the immediate left, there'll be a new door there that you'll be able to open. You can go inside there, and there'll be like a little Halloween-themed event in there. And then at the end, you'll need to solve a puzzle. Now, the puzzle is involving the rooms that are here. If you have enough, like I think it's perception and luck, you can actually just like guess the password to the code here. If you don't, you'll need to solve the puzzle by determining the amount of how many these objects in each of the rooms are. So there's like specimen jars in room 1, skull candles in 2, teddy bears in 3, and jack-o'-lanterns in 4. You'll need to total these up, like how many are in each of those rooms in that order, and then that answer will give you the password terminal answer. I don't want to just like give you the answer in this video, but you know, that's essentially how you do it. So now once you're in that room, just make sure to the left you pick up the unique helmets, and then to the right there is the power armor helmet that you can grab there, and then right next to the terminal is the picket fence book for all of the new Halloween settlement items that you can then unlock at all of your settlements. Now these are pretty cool, like if you want to do like a Halloween themed room or something, you could be able to do that. But that's pretty much everything that was added in terms of like questing and stuff. There is those other quests that I mentioned for the original like Enclave quest that you'll also be able to do if you want to grab those. Like you can do them, but you'll already have copies of that gear anyway, but if you want extra copies, you can then do that.
Before we rank the Creation Club content and talk about the new creations that were added, let's cover the creations menu that was completely revamped with this update. So all the existing Creation Club content, which is different to the new creations content, has now been added as a bundle that you can purchase, plus with some new additions that were added. I think there's about 6 total new ones. All of the new creations and the mods are still available in a new menu that's very similar to the menus you would know from Skyrim or Starfield. Now, one of the best additions with this anniversary edition is that if you own all of the Creation Club content, either through the bundle or just already owned it like I did, you don't get immediately bombarded with quests as soon as you leave the vault. This has been a really sought after change, as you would just get hundreds of quests the second you walk out of the vault. Now you'll actually discover these naturally, which is really fantastic. So the new additions that were brought in terms of Creation Club editions, if you purchase the bundle, you will get about 6 new Creation Club content. The main one being the Tale of the Beast Hunter. This is a New Vegas inspired edition that will begin if you go near the Nahent Sheriff's Department to the east of the map. You'll get a radio signal here. Clicking on that radio signal will then start this quest line and you can follow it through. It's got a couple of steps, a bit longer than some of these other ones, and it's a bit more interesting than just adding a new weapon or armor set, in my opinion. The Iron Gun will begin at the Kill or Be Killed shop in Good Neighbor. There is a little device on the table there and a note that you'll just need to interact with, and the quest will start. The Institute Plasma starts nearby at the Parkview Apartments in downtown Boston. You need to go into this area and you'll find a corpse here that you'll need to interact with, and the quest will start. The Brahm armor is armor for a Brahm, and this will start at the Easy City Downs. Pretty hard to miss, as there is a armored Brahmin here that someone is interacting with. You'll just need to interact with them yourself and it will start the quest. Cyberdog is an interesting one. I couldn't get this quest to actually work for me. Do let me know in the comments if something is wrong. This is supposed to start at the Nahent Oceanologist Society. It says investigate here when you just look at the Creation Club description. I investigated. I found absolutely nothing. No idea how this is supposed to start. Do let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But also the last one is the Bunker Home Pack, which is a settlement edition, which adds new settlement items. That begins at the Boston Bugle. When you enter this location, you'll just get a pop-up at a certain point when you get close to a desk, and then that will start the new quest. All right, now that's enough of that. Let's rank the existing Creation Club content.
Virtual Workshop is first. This is 1,000 credits. Now, this is first, or technically last, because I was actually surprisingly disappointed at how much I disliked this. So essentially the premise here is that you get a VR pod that you can build at any of your settlements, and you can go and access 4 specific locations, like a desert island, the iconic GNR building from the Capital Wasteland, a grid map, and I can't remember the other one, but I'm sure I'm showing it on screen for you here. So there is 40 new craftable items as well, and some weather and music options, etc. Now, the premise of being able to go to like the Galaxy News radio, I was like, heck yeah, this sounds like great. And it is an expensive creation, being 1,000. The downside here is that it's not technically like a settlement because it's in like this VR thing. It has unlimited build here, and like you can build anything on any of these 4 locations because there's no like build limit, or like you don't have to use materials, anything like that.
but they're not actual locations you can visit during the world or anything. It's just through like this VR pod, which if you like building stuff, that's totally fine, but it really wasn't for me. I actually found it to be quite a damper because I was super excited to go back to the Capital Wasteland, but we're going to be returning to the Capital Wasteland later in this video. The Arcade Workshop pack is available for 300 Creation Club credits. Now, I did say I wasn't going to talk about any of these random packs like these like typical settlement packs, but this one I actually kind of liked because what you get here is these arcade cabinets that you can build. They make sounds, they look really cool in your settlements, and you can actually play the games on them. They're the same games that are on like your Pip-Boy app, like the Pip-Boy you can get yourself when you find the holotapes, but you can actually build them as arcade machines. Really actually like this. Some of the, the lighting and the posters and flooring options here aren't too bad either. Now, there is tons of these like packs that are just all available in like the settlement mode. Most of them are really personal preference, right? Like if you prefer one of these other ones, you probably go with like the Nuka-Cola Collector Workshop's pretty good. It's really up to like whatever your personal preference is, though none of them are like, massive standouts that you should probably run out and grab. Transdoggifier. This is a weird one. So what this does is it gives you 2 different collars that you can give to Dogmeat. Now, the first collar will just change his visual style, right? So it'll change like his fur from the default to like white or black or gray or what have you. And the second collar combines with some of the different dog breed creations that you can get for 200 creations each. If you wanted to actually change the breed of Dogmeat, you can actually just change him to like, one of the other breeds if you've bought one of the other breeds from the creation store. The downside to doing this though is that if you change his breed, he can't equip any of like the armor or any of the other like fashionable items you can give Dogmeat. So the first one, like the Mark 1 of the Transdoggifier collar, is probably the one that you might use the most, though. I like the idea of being able to change what Dogmeat looks like and get a bit of freedom here, but this is a pretty cheap creation club, so that's probably why it lands a little bit in the middle of this list here, because it is pretty cheap. And I do like Dogmeat. Like I always have Dogmeat with me on every playthrough, so being able to change his appearance to fit with maybe some like role play specifics for different playthroughs, and so it's not always the same. I actually do like that option. Plus, if you want to go one of the other dog breeds, you can do that. Speaking of those dog breeds, you can buy them and essentially have to go and do that dog rescue quest, and you just have to go to the location where they are, and then they'll just join you. You can send them to whatever settlement you want, change their name, etc. They're essentially just like cosmetic, those pet breeds you can get. You can't have them follow you unless you get the Transdoggifier as well. The other one, if you just buy the breed, will just allow you to have them at your settlements. They can't actually follow you around. Sentinel Control System Companion for 700 credits. Now, this sounded really good, and when you read its description, it does sound pretty damn cool. Their single, highly experimental prototype was eventually recovered by the Brotherhood of Steel and is now in your hands. Not quite a robot, much more than a human, the Sentinel control system will shift the balance of power on any battlefield, and it also comes with 2 unlockable power armor. So essentially what this is a sentient, but not necessarily like entirely sentient, like artificial intelligence power armor that'll wander around and follow you like a normal companion. But essentially here it is a companion that wears power armor. You can change the power armor that it's wearing. The positive is that, you get it, and you get a companion that isn't affected by any choices that you make throughout the game. It's a cool addition if you want another power armor friend that can follow you around. But like, the downside is that there isn't a whole lot of depth to it. Like, it is just what it is on the tin, right? It does follow you around. It has a couple of like lines it will spit and it'll deal damage. For 700 credits, I just don't really think it's worth it when it's not really adding anything particularly unique, especially when Automatron is a thing. You've got like your robot companions there anyway. The Settlement Ambush Kit is a fun one. I actually quite like this. Now, it does come in at a steep price, being 900 Creation Club points. But what this allows you to do is summon like a radio beacon or like a bait at your settlements, and you can lure enemies to essentially spawn like waves constantly until you turn that beacon off. So this is great for like a loot or XP farm. Like the gunners just drop an absolute ton of ammo and loot and everything, and you can just like farm them if you want some free levels, as well as some free ammo, stim packs, etc. The other cool part about this is it comes with working cameras. This is a really cool addition, right? So at any of your settlements, you can build cameras, you got to power them, and then you can build the security monitor station, and you can click on that and actually just like view your settlements through the camera. This is a really like fun, unique idea. It's not super practical, but if you want to spy on your settlements, it's pretty cool. There is some other like settlement items it comes with as well, like a watchtower and that sort of thing. It's all based around the defenses of your settlement and like that sort of theme. And I actually quite liked this, being that none of the real creation creations have a whole lot of substance to them, especially the ones we've talked about so far. Having like this ambush kit to be able to summon enemies just to your camp so you can actually fight them if you want to, plus like the unique interactions of like the cameras. I actually liked having something different in that way. So definitely a cool one if you want something a little bit different. Neon Flats for 600 credits gets you an amazing apartment in Good Neighbor that looks really cool, has a quite nice aesthetic to it, but it also has a really fun quest that I was quite surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So there's a few of these like apartment-y themed ones that you can get that all have sort of a quest link to them. You unlock an apartment at like one of the main cities. Neon Flats was definitely my favorite of these, so I'm going to talk about this one rather than the other ones, but you know, if you prefer the other ones, obviously go that route. The apartment itself is very futuristic, sort of sci-fi themed. I really like that you can look out the windows and see Good Neighbor like down below you. It really adds to the immersion of this apartment. It's also nice to have an apartment in Good Neighbor if you prefer to go there than say Diamond City. And I really like the quest, Neon Winter. It's got some Institute vibes, some sci-fi vibes, a little bit of hacking, and I actually quite like this quest, so definitely a cool one to pick up if you do like the apartment creation club. The Zaytan Arsenal is next for 600 credits. Now, I did say I wasn't going to do a lot of the weapon ones, but we are going to do a couple here back to back that are some of the best creation club content the game has to offer, not only because they add cool weapons, but because of the actual quest that is linked to them. So the Zaytan Arsenal gives you 3 alien weapons from Fallout 3. This is a short quest, but it's actually really good and has some unique interactions that I won't actually spoil, and it's quite funny, so it is worth doing. What I also like about these weapons is not only can you customize them pretty extensively, you can actually change their ammo type to fusion cells to make them significantly easier to use because, you know, you probably will run out of the alien shots eventually. Captain Cosmo is next for 700 credits. Now, this is one of the best in general. Now, just what you get out of this, right? You get a unique weapon that has a bunch of different firing modes, like being able to knock enemies back or freeze them, as well as just like a apparel suit that increases your jump height and a power armor suit that has a jetpack on it. But what's really great about this is it's a well-crafted quest with a fun, unique location that's like the TV set for the Captain Cosmo show. Plus, like while you're hunting around this location, you find a bunch of toy boxes that you can then hand in at the end to get like additional rewards from some of these unique items if you do want to. What I really like about this quest is almost all of the quests in the Creation Club content lean very heavily into notes, right? Like you'll come across a location, there'll be a note, you'll read the note, and then it'll point you to like the next like part of that quest. That's fine, but it gets a little bit repetitive when you're doing all of these back to back to back to back. Now, what I liked about this is the unique location that's actually quite a large location with a lot of environmental storytelling, things to look at and interact with, enemies to fight, plus like the cool items you get from it. So Captain Cosmos for 700 credits is definitely worthwhile in my opinion. Number 3 on this list, we've only got 2 more after this, is the Capital Wasteland Mercenaries. This one is marketed like so wrong. It's one of the best as you actually get to return to the G&R building. It doesn't really do a good job of actually showing that that's what the main crux of this creation is. It really just talks about the 8 like old Fallout 3 outfits that you now get in Fallout 4. But essentially what happens here is you get to go back to the GNR building, help out some like ragtag group of like mercenaries, fight off some Talon invaders. Once you do that, you'll be able to like explore around Galaxy News Radio and just, you know, explore all the locations that you would remember from Fallout 3. I really like this for the nostalgia. Like the nostalgia here is like really good. The building looks exactly as it is in Fallout 3. The downside is it does feel quite sad that, you know, this is the only location that you get to go back to from Fallout 3. When you look at the quality of like how things have been uplifted to Fallout 3, you're like, man, I wish that Fallout 3 was moved to Fallout 4. But that aside, right, like it's just really fun to go back to this location, defeat some enemies, you get all those outfits and what have you, and just be able to explore and soak in some GNR and Fallout 3 goodness. Funnily enough, number 2 on this list is actually kind of similar, and that's the Tunnel Snakes Rule. Now, this is a quest that gives you the Tunnel Snakes outfit as well as the classic 10mm pistol from Fallout 3. What's really fun about this actually is that it is a quest that fits perfectly into Fallout 4's lore as well as Fallout 3 and like talks about the tunnel snakes. There's a lot of notes and stuff you can read that are really cool and interesting. The downside is that like this would be such a cool quest to just like stumble across as like an Easter egg to like explain what happened to the tunnel snakes and like learn about the tunnel snakes, and like it's a little disappointing this is a creation. It is only 500 credits, so it's not like too expensive.
The outfit itself, you probably won't wear because you want to wear armor anyway, but the classic 10mm pistol is really cool. Like, this is the main prize here, not only because it has its like traditional sounds, but at the very end you get the Ultimatum legendary version that has radiation damage on top of the full physical damage. When I've just been using this pistol heaps since I did this one, it's become one of my favorite pistols in the game. So definitely well worth doing if you like some nostalgia bait like I do. Number 1 on this list, the best Creation Club piece of content is the modular military backpack for 400 credits. Now, while this isn't a quest or a new weapon, armor, what have you, this is the best in my opinion because it just fits perfectly into the world and the lore of Fallout. The fact that you have a backpack, plus like there's so many different like looks to it. You can change its patches and colors and the way that it sits on your back, etc. You've also got a bunch of add-ons you can add to it that say increase your carry weight further or add multiple other bonuses. I've talked about this in a couple of videos, like especially my survival mode stuff, because this makes such a difference for survival mode, and it's actually quite a really good addition to the game. And I just like the aesthetic of wearing it as well. So it's definitely the best in my opinion because of all the benefits it gives you just straight across the game. You're playing the game on survival or hard mode or whatever, the extra carry weight plus the other benefits you can get from it, really beneficial to have. And in some ways it even feels a little bit mandatory, depending, like especially on survival mode, and the fact that it is only 400 Creation Club credits when some of the Creation Clubs we've talked about in this video add significantly less actual gameplay and fun factor compared to this for significantly more cost. It's definitely one worth picking up. So before we close out this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I learned from this experience of buying all the Creation Club stuff, because there is a lot of negativity around Creation Club and this across Skyrim and Fallout, right? And this is going to come to Starfield eventually, this Creation Club system. And what I learned from this is that there are a fair few of these that are actually quests, and a lot of quests that I actually enjoyed. Like when you're looking in the Creation Club menu, everything sort of, it doesn't really make it clear what it's adding other than say like an armor or a weapon or what have you. It's kind of marketed the wrong way, I think. Like what was interesting to me was unlocking these and then being like, oh, there's actually a quest here that's kind of interesting, right? Like I feel like that and that content that comes with the quest and the new locations was what was more interesting to me than being like, oh, cool, another weapon. Okay, if you know what I mean, like that was what was interesting to me, was the quality content. What I would really like them to do with these is the downside, right, is that, there's not a whole lot of voice acting here really at all, because it's significantly cheaper just to like tell the story of these quests through these notes. It's totally fine. If you're planning to play Fallout 4 in survival mode, my favorite way to play, by the way, you should check out my ultimate guide to survival mode next, which I will link here for you. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.